Hello, come in. Oh, it's so still and quiet out. Look at that fresh snow. Oops, never mind. You've just been chopping through it to get here. Don't mind me. Here, I'll take your coat and put it near the fireplace. Yes, just put your books right there. Here's your favorite chair. And a nice cup of Earl Grey tea. Perfect. Oh, and here are some warm buttermilk biscuits. They've got butter and honey from my own backyard, of course. Yes, I harvested it back in September, and it's so comforting to eat right now, isn't it? I think so too. All settled? Wonderful. Where were we? Oh, yes. So, Alice has just started swimming in the pool of her own tears that she made when she was massive, but now she's super teeny tiny, so. Would it be of any use now, thought Alice, to speak to this mouse? Everything is so out of the way down here that I should think it very likely it can talk. At any rate, there's no harm in trying. So she began. Oh, Mouse, do you know the way out of this pool? I am very tired of swimming about here, oh, Mouse. Alice thought this must be the right way of speaking to a mouse. She had never done such a thing before, but she remembered having seen in her brother's Latin grammar, a mouse of a mouse to a mouse, oh mouse. The mouse looked at her rather inquisitively, and seemed to her to wink with one of its little eyes, but it said nothing. Perhaps it doesn't understand English, thought Alice. I dare say it's a French mouse, come over with William the Conqueror. For, with all her knowledge of history, Alice had no very clear notion on how long anything had happened. So she began again. Où est ma chatte? Which was the first sentence in her French lesson book. The mouse gave a sudden leap out of the water, and seemed to quiver all over with fright. Oh, I beg your pardon, cried Alice hastily, afraid that she had hurt the poor animal's feelings. I quite forgot you didn't like cats. Not like cats, cried the mouse in a shrill, passionate voice. Would you like cats if you were me? Well, perhaps not, said Alice in a soothing tone. Don't be angry about it, and yet I wish I could show you our cat, Dinah. I think you'd take a fancy to cats if you could only see her. She is such a dear, quiet thing. Alice went on half to herself as she swam lazily about in the pool. And she sits purring so nicely by the fire, licking her paws and washing her face, and she is such a nice thing to nurse. And she's such a capital one for catching mice. Oh, I beg your pardon, cried Alice again, for this time the mouse was bristling all over, and she felt certain it must be really offended. We won't talk about her any more if you'd rather not. We indeed, cried the mouse, who was trembling down to the end of his tail. As if I would talk on such a subject. Our family always hated cats. Nasty little vulgar things. Don't let me hear that name again. I won't indeed, said Alice in a great hurry to change the subject of conversation. Are you fond of dogs? The mouse did not answer, so Alice went on eagerly. There is such a nice little dog near our house. I should like to show you. A little bright-eyed terrier, you know, with such long curly brown hair, and it'll fetch things when you throw them, and it'll sit up and beg for its dinner, and all sorts of things. I can't remember half of them. And it belongs to a farmer, you know, and he says it's so useful it's worth 100 pounds. He says it kills all the rats, and oh dear, cried Alice in a sorrowful tone. I'm afraid I've offended it again. For the mouse was swimming away from her as hard as it could go, and making quite a commotion in the pool as it went. So she called softly after it, Mouse dear, do come back again, and we won't talk about cats or dogs either if you don't like them. When the mouse heard this, it turned round and swam slowly back to her. Its face was quite pale, with passion, Alice thought, and it said in a low, trembling voice, Let us get to the shore, and then I'll tell you my history, and you'll understand why it is I hate cats and dogs. It was high time to go, for the pool was getting quite crowded with the birds and animals that had fallen into it. There were a duck and a dodo and a lory and an eaglet and several other curious creatures. Alice led the way, and the whole party swam to the shore. And that finishes Chapter 2. How lovely! Oh, I meant to ask, do you know what day we missed a few weeks back? A. Milne's birthday. It was actually January 18th, but fortunately, I'm always in the mood to celebrate his birthday. That's why I have the honey, exactly. Oh, would you like to hear a song I did inspired by Pooh and Piglet? You would? Here, I'll put it on. I think I traced it to that blustery day you held my hand when I took off in flight. We flew over ponds and trees and valleys, the sort of thing that'd be a nightmare. But somehow when I was with you, I didn't feel so scared. I know it's not us against the world, but if it was, I feel prepared. 'Cause it's you and me together, through ups and downs, through highs and lows. It's us versus whatever problem, flying kites when the wind blows. And as sweet as honey is, I'm sure our love is even sweeter. And I know whatever may be, it's always you and me. I like hearing the things you write, and in fact, I'm quite impressed. And when we go exploring together, I'm convinced that you know best about the way to find adventure, even if I'm nervous a bit. I know it's not us against the world, but if it was, we could handle it. 'Cause it's you and me together, through ups and downs, through highs and lows. It's us versus whatever problem, flying kites when the wind blows. And as sweet as honey is, I'm sure our love is even sweeter. And I know whatever may be, it's always you and me. You and me together, through ups and downs, through highs and lows. Us versus whatever problem, flying kites when the wind blows. And as sweet as honey is, I'm sure our love is even sweeter. And I know whatever may be, it's always you and me. Always you and me. I just feel like, I don't know, everything would be so happy living in the 100-acre woods. I mean, I guess not Eeyore, but I love Milne's books, but I also love his poems. They're so funny and just, clever. Here's one I really, really like, called The Wind. Actually, it's just Wind on the Hill. No one can tell me, nobody knows, where the wind comes from, where the wind goes. It's flying from somewhere as fast as it can. I couldn't keep up with it, not if I ran. But if I stopped holding the string of my kite, it would blow with the wind for a day and a night. And then when I found it, wherever it blew, I should know that the wind had been going there too. So then I could tell them where the wind goes. But where the wind comes from, nobody knows. Oh, I love this one too. Let me read it to you. This one's called Halfway Down. Halfway down the stairs is a stair where I sit. There isn't any other stair quite like it. I'm not at the bottom, I'm not at the top. So this is the stair where I always stop. Halfway up the stairs isn't up, and it isn't down. It isn't in the nursery, it isn't in town. And all sorts of funny thoughts run round my head. It isn't really anywhere. It's somewhere else instead. It's truly easy to feel lucky when we have so many wonderful books and stories and poems all at our fingertips. I suppose it's that time? No problem. I so appreciate you stopping by. Here is your toasty warm coat and dried boots, and a little jar of my clover honey. You'll have to try drizzling it over some hot porridge for breakfast tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming by. You know you're always welcome here at Lantana Cottage. Love you. See you soon.